Hi, my name is Luke Shaw, and I am one of the hosts of Slaney Studios Artist Avenue podcast, and I'm joined by
Josh Hayes. I'm the other host, and basically we are now Slaney Studios. Not
Studios? Slaney
Studios, sorry.
Yeah, we are Slaney Studios. So yeah, I figured that there's probably at least one or two people out there that are wondering what the crack is there, like what's going on, like, right? Josh, do you want to chat a little bit about all this? It's a little bit weird.
So we decided to rebrand because we starting to get a lot more people on board with what we're doing, and Luke, being so modest, he didn't really want his name being, what it's about. He wanted to be part of the team,
Actually, it's less me being modest and more me being not confusing, because I also have a music brand, so it was kind of like, no, I'm music, this is not music. Kind of selfish on my part. Look, I set up Spellshot Studios, as it was formerly called, when we were launching Sing to Me, when we brought it to the Wexford Arts Centre, which is where we initially premiered our film, and they asked me if I had a name attached to it. They asked if I wanted it just under my name, and I knew that I didn't want it under my name, because my name, I'm trying to attach heavily to music. Luke Shaw, I want to be attached to my songs and my albums and things, so I just put together the idea of Spellshot Studios. Is like, that's the ends of my name, Spellshot. But lately then we've been diving a hell of a lot deeper into what we're sitting on. It's the very first film production company in history in Wexford. It's never been done before in Wexford, so we decided that there's no reason not to act on this and push it. So we started working on that. We got a team around us, like a board of management, if you like. So I am running the thing. So it's like, if you're looking at roles, it'd be like, I'm kind of CEO, founder. Then you've got Nick Zimlas, who is the co-director of Fatherland and Sing to Me, and the chief cinematographer, and he is the kind of general manager. He runs it alongside me. Him and I are together on that. And then we have Josh. You are a producer, and you run the podcast in the Discord. Then we have Jordan, a casting director as well, that's right. And then we have Jordan, who's our second casting director, and he's also head of scripts departments. And then Eri Farrell is head of marketing, and Avi Beale is our chief design and costuming person, whatever you call that. I was going to say officer, so it's like, yes, okay. So that's kind of the gist of what's going on. We're trying to really shake things up and see where we can take this, right?
We're really diving into the deep end with it as well. I had Eri just ask me to see if I could do some animation for the new logo that's coming out soon.
Oh, very cool. Yes, we cannot disclose too much about what that is, even though that's not really a massive secret.
It'll be up in a few days.
It'll be up in a few days. Yeah. Will it wait a few days? Jesus. Okay. I said ASAP, but like, fuck, I didn't expect it that quickly. And we can't really properly go into details about what I want to mention. I suppose we can kind of say that we're talking to potential clients and things like that. We can't really go into too much detail about it, but there's a lot of cool stuff coming your way from us or whatever. Anybody that's listening to this, yeah. Anything to add on that?
Not really much. Just we seen a gap in the market, really. We seen that there was no film production company not run by a sole person in Wexford. So when we decided to pursue that, it really started to work out in our favour with Sing to Me.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really... I thought it was just, friends making movies, but,
Well, that was the initial idea. Initially it was, I want to make a film and I need help. And then it became so much more, and I am so honoured to have everybody, because I never expected that all of these people would rally behind me the way that you have, so it's pretty awesome. And on the topic of awesome, so about 4, 5, 6 months ago, thereabouts, I stumbled across a film. It was about 2 in the morning or 3 in the morning. I couldn't sleep. I had a really, really, really shitty night's sleep, and I was flicking through YouTube, and I came across a film. I love to watch indie films, and I love particularly ones that are incredible. Because I would hope that other people would do the same for ours. And I stumbled across this film. I turned it on expecting something like the usual shorts that you kind of find that have fuck all context and not really great production value, but you enjoy the story for what it is. It's not what I watched. What I got was a fantastically, beautifully crafted and written piece of artistry called More Than Only, and I decided to start, researching and looking into who these people were, and I found a guy. His name was Jonathan Miles, and he was the lead actor. And I decided to message him, and he and I have been chatting for the last few months back and forth, and trying to make sure that we could get the go ahead to do this. And I've definitely come to consider this guy a friend. He's a really lovely guy. And ladies and gentlemen, we have him on the podcast today. So Jonathan, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hey guys, how's it going? Hi everybody listening at home or wherever you are in your car. Hopefully you're not driving. It's me, Jonathan Miles. How you doing?
So, Jonathan, you're from Portland, Oregon, right?
Yeah, that's right. Born and raised.
Born and raised. Okay, that got to be handy though. That must have been handy for shooting then, I assume. Yeah, I'm familiar with the area, and I didn't have to do an accent or anything. By the way, I hope this isn't rude, but y'all's accents are just so goddamn charming.
We say the same thing about you, though.
I'm trying to pay attention to what you're saying, and I'm just enchanted by. So if I start to zone out and just look like I'm in like a little happy place, that's what's happening, and just I'll try to stay up to speed.
Yeah, we can talk quite quickly. Like, I don't know. I don't personally think that I have like a heavy Wexford accent, but Josh does.
Sometimes I tend to suppress
Josh, you have a
it.
towny accent.
No, I tend to suppress it when I'm talking to people like over the mic or over anything like that, because I do talk to a lot of Americans and Canadians and everyone that's quite a bit away. Yeah. So I tend to just tone it down a bit and talk a bit slower just so they can understand me. And
yeah. Well, I'm understanding you guys fine. You don't have to dumb it down for me, but just know that I'm adoring it.
we could try speaking. I'll teach this little phrase in Irish. It's a really, really gorgeous phrase. It means Donegal is the heart and soul of Ireland, right? Which I'm from Wexford, but it's supposed to be gorgeous, and it comes from a poem about this gorgeous well. It is Anwyl Ceadagum Dulgadi on
No.
Hold on a second.
Don't even try and give him that. That means can I go to the bathroom?
I did.
Is that Gaelic? What does
Irish,
that mean?
Irish. Can I go to the bathroom?
When we were in primary school, because our government tries to make us speak Irish, which is it's good because it's our language, it's our heritage, but it's the way that it's taught is quite wrong. But when you're in primary school anyway, you're kind of taught these little phrases. So like hello is diagwit, goodbye is slán go fáil, how are you is kind of taught to, and then the most common one that we all take the piss out of is when you ask to go to the toilet. If you put up your hand and say, Miss or Sir, can I go to the bathroom? They'd say no, and they'd look at you and wait for you to say it in Irish, and you had to say Anwyl Ceadagum Dulgadi on Irish. That's Irish Class 101, ladies and gentlemen. The bell is rang. We're done.
Perfect. Well, now I know what to say if I ever go visit the Blarney Stone, right?
There you go. Now you're fluent in Irish.
Perfect.
Once you know that one phrase, you're sorted. So that was really mean. I shouldn't have done that. So Jonathan, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your interests, your hobbies, your job, but tell us about you.
Yeah, sure. Well, I am self-employed. I do acting a lot and carpentry, and a little bit of property management. But I started acting as an adult about 5 years ago, and it's taken up more and more of my time over the last 5 years, which has been great. It's sort of it started out as more of a hobby, and is transforming into a kind of way to make money too. But it's not my whole scene, so I'm still doing the carpentry thing. Really base level stuff. I'm no master woodsmith or anything.
I'd say you've shown me some. There's a couple of things I think you've shown me on Instagram are pretty cool.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I can hang a wall. I can. We almost had to start late today on this chat because I had to meet a client out front with a chair that I rehabbed for him. The great thing about living in Portland is there's all this really old furniture, and people will a leg will come loose, and people will just get rid of it. They'll just put it on the sidewalk when it's nice out.
Oh boy!
So
Wow!
yeah,
That was meant to be wow.
So I like just finding stuff like that, fixing it up, and giving it a second chance, a second life, and then take it to a thrift store or sell it to somebody online.
Yeah, I have a similar thing out near where I live, Josh. You know when you pass the National Heritage Park, you know the little tuck-in space.
Yeah,
there, next to the river, right? Because it's on the way to my house, Josh.
I think I know what you're gonna say.
Yeah, me and Josh were driving back to my house one night because he was staying over in mine, and somebody had dumped a couch and a dresser there. Yeah, it was just sat there. It was like somebody getting kicked out of their house and dumped really slowly. It was like just like here's your clothes and here's your seat.
The rest is like you.
Next week. Yeah. You pay a monthly subscription to get dropped. The real Disney Plus, ladies and gentlemen. No, I shouldn't say that.
Are you allowed to say that? That's
I don't think so. But I did. So there we go.
Whatever you do, don't sing "Happy Birthday." Do they sing "Happy Birthday" where you guys live?
Yeah,
we sing "Happy Birthday," but we're not allowed to publish it anywhere because it'll be copyrighted. Yeah, it's copyrighted. No, it's
Disney owns it.
Yeah, so you're not allowed to sing "Happy Birthday," but you're allowed to play Beethoven and stuff like that. So.
Right.
How would that even work? Beethoven resurrects himself from the grave to sue you.
That's the whole point of it. That's the whole point.
That could be the new. We could just do that instead of the birth. Happy birthday.
So Jonathan, I wasn't really going to talk about this because we've mentioned it on a lot of our podcasts. But how are you finding this current very strange global climate?
Oh yeah. Well, Portland is definitely uniquely positioned right now. I mean, I assume you're asking about the pandemic, but maybe also about
the pandemic. Yeah, the pandemic. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we can chat a little bit about the other things in America, but we'll.
Okay. Yeah. Fair enough. Well, as usual, America is number one at being the worst. It's. I don't want to get into downer territory, but it's pretty tough not having strong national leadership on the issue. But Oregon's pretty lucky. Really early on, our governor joined with a group of other state governors to sort of form some kind of cohesive plan as to how to handle this. So, but it's certainly had its impact. It's been trying, but it's impossible not to have perspective right now with everything else that's going on. I have to recognize the position of privilege that I'm in and just try to remain grateful that I have my health and doing okay, hanging in there.
I think the one thing that everyone would really take away is how humble they become after the pandemic. Everyone kind of realizes, damn, not everything is something could be so sudden, So it all really came out of nowhere.
Yeah,
and I think about the things we used to complain about, 6 or 8 months ago, and that all just seems like it's never going to matter again. Those little things.
We never, because even down to something as simple as being I'm a very anybody that knows me knows I'm an extremely social guy, and I'm a hugger, so I hug everybody. I'm very compassionate that way, I suppose. I love people, I love everybody, and I hug all of my friends all of the time, and the fact that I really noticed the fact that I can't, and it's such a simple thing, but it was just even that is something that I would have taken for granted because I just did. It's like being able to go see somebody now, I have to stand so far away from them. All of these plans that we had for the studio and the films that we were going to do. We in Ireland, we have our education system is designed around one exam, so you sit what's called your leaving cert, which I'm pretty sure equates to the American SATs.
Yeah, and then the English GCSEs.
Yeah, and me and Josh were in sixth year, which is the year that you sit it, and our leaving cert was cancelled. But the thing is, we don't have continuous assessment, so nothing that we do for the 6 years counts. It doesn't matter.
All on that like one day of the exam.
Yeah.
And if you do something wrong on that one day that you could have just forgotten,
Yeah.
it's gone.
Yeah, and this is the thing. Our education system is quite flawed, but everybody knows that. But it's just even the fact that we couldn't sit it was like, there was a lot of stress around it. That it was like, because I wanted to sit it, and then it's like, oh, but then can you sit it? And then when they announced it was cancelled, it's like, how do I feel about that? Am I happy? Am I not? I don't know.
Have we just wasted like how long of our life? Like, have we just wasted our life?
Yeah, so it's such a strange situation. But no, I just wanted to get your take on that. I won't dwell on that. We all know what's going on. Everybody's getting that.
Before we roll too much further, I just want to say, after watching Sing to Me, I can tell that you're a really good hugger, because you guys you're all like friends, and like those moments, towards the end of the scene where you're all hugging each other goodbye, and I'm like, oh gosh, that looks like a good hug.
If I do pride myself on anything, it's my ability to hug. I'm quite good. I'm not good at much else, but I'm good at that. We shot a scene for Sing to Me, which was like towards, I think I mentioned it on the podcast last time, but it was towards the end. Jordan's character, Jason, which film is he called? Jason? That's Fatherland. Sean.
Yeah, Sean.
He's in both films. He and I had to, like, he was the best friend in the film or whatever, and we meet in Dublin, but it's actually the Rocks in Wexford. And we walked over, and I'm supposed to give him a hug, and we shot that scene like 17 times, but we shot it like between 2 days. So we shot one on our very first day and one on our very last day, and I was like combining the footage, but like we managed to get like the hug in the same position. It was pretty cool. So yeah, very irrelevant. Anyway,
that's that like ridge top scene, right, where you're kind of overlooking
overlooking the town.
Yeah, that's gorgeous. It's gorgeous.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it's lovely. It's the most common drinking spot
for teenagers. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we had one of those growing up called Bald Peak. Yeah, we'd drive up there, drink enough Coors Light to get sick, and then
pass me the Coors Light.
You're starting easy, Jonathan. Come on, man.
Well, we didn't have Guinness or anything like that. So
I believe your legal age there is 21, right?
That's right.
That's a really odd age.
Yeah. You can serve in the military. Before you can legal. Well, actually, I guess they let soldiers drink at 18 because it seems wrong to let somebody risk their life for their country and not
drink. Well, I was in Orlando a year ago, 2 years ago, and when I was there, me and my dad went to a pub or a bar, and usually if I'm at a pub with my dad and I was under 18, I could turn around and be like, Dad, will you get me a beer? And he'd be like, yeah, it's grand, because he'd buy it for me and he can just hand it to me. And I said, Dad, can you get me one? And he goes, no, I can't. And I was like, what? I was like, what's the problem? I was like, you don't mind? And then he was like, no, I actually can't. And I was like, what? And then I realized that they would ask me for ID as well. And then some man who was like clearly in his 40s or 50s went up and asked for a drink, and they asked him for ID, and I was like, wow. So yeah, you guys are quite
the Oregon Liquor Control Commission, they have been equated to some fascist organizations in the past. They're really strict. If you are a person who just works at a bar and you serve somebody underage and get caught, they can fine you as an individual like $5,000. So it's it's a pretty steep. That's why people have to be so strict in the service industry here.
Yeah.
I see.
I was just having a chat with some of my American friends about how you can actually serve someone like cigarettes and alcohol when you're 18, but you can't be served cigarettes and alcohol until you're 21.
Yeah,
for us it's just 18. Everything is 18. So the minute that there's like my friend just had her 18th there yesterday, and it's like that's a big deal. So it's like, you turn 18 and because you won't have ID on your 18th birthday, so you'll walk into, like, we went to a place called Ramen, and she brought her passport there, but like even she went up to the bar and everybody was like, it's her 18th, so she was delighted with herself buying her first legal drink. Like, no, every single one of us drank before we were 18, but still.
It's the experience. Oh yeah, totally.
You need to be good for when you are 18.
Yeah, exactly. You need to be ready for it. It's training. That's what it is. It's very responsible on my part. What do you? Right. So, Jonathan, you've chatted about the fact that you're a carpenter and that's the kind of things that you do. So now I'm going to move on to the reason that you and I got in contact, and the reason that you're here is more than only. Why don't you tell people who don't know about this film what this film is and about your character and the story?
Yeah, sure. So More Than Only is my first feature-length film. I'd only done a few shorts and student projects before that. We filmed it 4.5-ish years ago now.
Wow.
And no, I think it was 4 years ago, August, actually. Anyway, it's also the first film by the writer-director, Michelle Lee. She sort of was inspired by a story that she had heard and several things, obviously, but she just set out to write a love story. She wanted to write a love story that sort of began to turn into a romantic comedy.
Yeah.
And she said as soon as she started imagining the main character, she just knew that he was gay. Which is funny. She's a straight white middle-aged woman in the suburbs writing a movie about this young man who's gay and is trying to live his life out and free, but his parents won't accept him for who he is, and they sort of punish him with financial withholding, etc., verbal abuse. And yeah, the film sort of centers around that character, Justin Johnson, who I play, and as he's sort of entering college and getting out of the nest and maybe starting to select those members of his chosen family because his family of origin just isn't supportive.
Yeah.
And he meets a slightly more mature, a little more like seasoned, yeah, got his stuff together, man named Michael, and they fall in love. And I guess you have to watch the movie to find out the rest.
There's just on that, Jonathan. There's a line. It's my favorite line in the whole film, and it really sticks. It stuck in my brain because it was your delivery of it. It's my favorite thing that I watched you deliver in the film. For me, it was your strong. Like, you're already a fantastic actor, but it was the strongest piece of acting that you did in that film, and it was when you said. You and Bjorn, who plays Michael Oren, Michael, what's the surname?
Garner.
Michael Garner. Michael Oren, yeah, I keep calling him that. Anybody who doesn't understand that, I suggest you go watch the film. So when you and Bjorn are fighting, I think it's like 3/4 of the way through the film, and it's like the pause on pause section. Yeah. And you have a scene where you walk in and you told him to unpause. You're like, is that a thing? And he was like, yeah, just say what you want to say. And you were like, whether he knows it or not, I'm collecting on a debt that you're talking about your father. It's like, whether he knows it or not, I'm collecting on a debt that he owes me, because he's getting onto the fact that you're living off your dad's money. And that was really, really profound when I heard, because it didn't register with me properly. It was just there. It was just part of the story. But it was when you said that I was like, fuck, he actually knows what he's doing and why he's doing it, and that makes so much sense. In his head, this is payback. You give me your money for being a dickhead. Which is powerful stuff.
It is, and that's part of what attracted me to the script when Michelle initially sent it over to me with the offer. Is she has these really powerful, almost over the top, want to say like Shakespearean sounding, not in any like hoity-toity sense to brag about the quality, but just this sort of over the top hyperbole in the writing that actually is really striking home with a lot of people who are dealing with that. And yeah, it's sort of a tragic thing. My father won't give me love, so at least I'm gonna soak him for some money. I mean, it's heartbreaking. That was our first day of filming. That was like the second thing we shot, and wow. Bjorn and I had spent all of like 20 minutes together, I think, at that point.
It's funny, even just from our experience of shooting. I always imagined that I would shoot stuff in sequence, and our lead actor in this, his name's Jack, who, by the way, guys, will be on the podcast soon. And Jack is he's a fantastic actor. But we came in. He panicked the night before day one of shooting, because his whole thing was I had cast him in the role, and it dawned on him that he was the lead, and he was like, oh shit, I don't know if I can handle it. So I rang him, and I was like, all right, what's up? And he went through it with me. I was like, all right, okay. I was like, you're grand. I was like, chill, you'll be fine. And so we went in anyway, and all had a cup of tea, cup of coffee, some sandwiches. That was great. We took a break. Josh, you know what that means. Will, you earned it if you're listening. And then we got going, and I remember him whether it was him or whether it was, I can't remember who it was. Somebody pulled me aside and was like, why are we shooting like scene 32 when we it's like when this is day one of shooting? It's funny.
That was it was one of the audio people. Was it
Callum?
Was it Will or Callum?
It could have been, no, I think it could have been. Probably was Callum. I don't know. I thought it was Jack. Yeah. I don't know, whoever it was. But it was just funny because even when we shot Sing to Me, it was the same. It's like I don't know. Did that? Because obviously for me, I was directing these, so I was kind of thinking of it logistically. How do I get these things shot? So for me, it didn't bother me per se, because it was like, I need this scene done because I can shoot this now. I can't shoot that now, so I'll wait. So it was literally just a case of what can I put where. But for you, was it weird for you having to throw yourself into the middle of the story and then pull yourself back to go back and shoot scene one?
It was totally unique for me, because like I said, working on short films, you do often shoot more or less in sequence.
It's handier.
And it's like a weekend at most. We were shooting all of the month of August, and before film, my background is theater, and so there's nothing more sequential, that has to to finish. And you get like 3 months to work on it before anybody sees it, whereas this was like, we had one meeting, we did the table read, and then we were filming a week later. It was super bizarre, and it's so hard for me. I hope this doesn't offend anybody, but it's hard for me to watch more than only the film, because all I see are like, oh, I should have done that differently, or that thing I was feeling didn't read the way that I thought it was going to, visually, because I didn't have any experience really.
I think me and Luke kind of feel the same about Sing to Me. Like, I'm like, oh, I could have got something better on this, because when I was working the mic and I was working camera sometimes as well, I'm like, oh, could have got this type of angle, or could have got the mic sounding better here,
Absolutely. No,
it's hard to do both at the same time.
And Jonathan, even from an acting perspective, I totally get that as well. Like, even like for Sing to Me, like I play a small role in Fatherland, so it's easier for me this time because I've really taken a step back. But with Sing to Me being the main character, when I go back and I watch the film, I love it. I'm really, really proud of it. But especially given the little experience that we had, but when I do watch it, I do struggle to watch my own scenes, because it's like, oh god, why do I talk like that? Oh my god, no. Is that what I sound like to you people?
Right. Yeah, that very scene that you were describing earlier, every time I see it, all I'm thinking is like, god, does my voice really sound that high? Is that really what I sound like?
I thought it was fantastic. Your acting is brilliant. I seen a post by, because I just while we kind of on the topic of you and Bjorn in a scene, I think it was either Michelle or it was Beth, who plays Brooke. I cannot remember who said it, but somebody said that it was funny that you guys got along so well on set that it was a shame you weren't a real couple. And I really feel that your friendship shined through into the film, because you guys really did have really great chemistry on screen.
I love him. It's all Bjorn. He's just so like full of light and energy. He comes on set and his just attitude is, ready to work and have fun, and I couldn't be more grateful for a co-star like that. At this point, he's kind of set the standard, and now whenever I get a project, I'm like, God, I hope this person is like Bjorn quality. This person's Bjorn level. Yeah.
Bjorn, if you're listening to this, that's a really lovely thing. I really hope he does listen to this. That'd be so cool.
How was it working with the people on set? Was it strict? Was it casual? Like, what was your type of workflow Like,
Sure, yeah,
like
yeah.
a common day.
Well, it's certainly an indie, very, very low budget. I think it would be under the new SAG guidelines, like ultra low budget would be where it where it lands on the.
We have no budget, so don't worry.
So you know where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
Which means a lot of people are doing more than one job. So it was pretty casual, but at the same time, our whole crew. So our cinematographer came on first, and he. Got in contact with Michelle, and he said, I think we can make this happen. I think we could do this in a month, and I've got a whole crew of people that I know can make it look great. And he wasn't wrong. I mean, it looks like cinema quality as far as I can tell.
The film looks stunning.
Yeah. Darren Hartman is just... I'll talk about him more later, and just specifically him, because I just adore him and his work, and working with him is inspiring. But he had an AD who came in and really kind of made it a pretty tight ship. We had a little bit of loggerheads, me and him, because it's in my nature to just try to help. And when you're an actor, there's a lot of downtime in between shooting when they do setups, and I'd see things needing to be done or people looking for assistance, and I'd want to jump in and haul some C-stands around, or clamp a flag. And the AD kept coming around telling me, like, Jonathan, no, we can't afford for you to hurt yourself before we shoot and put you on camera. But so it was semi-casual, but we had a pretty tight ship. We had a really tight shooting schedule, and same thing for the new series, an incredibly tight shooting schedule. And what was great is we got almost the whole crew back together. It was Darren Hartman again, and we had to get a new AD, but we had the same sound person, we had the same DIT doing all of the information technology for us, and workflow was very professional, but it was laughs all day on set every day. Yeah. Especially through the 14-hour days, you start to get a little loopy and just say whatever comes to your mind.
I do think that's for me anyway, because now we weren't doing 14-hour days, but with Sing to Me Now we would shoot weekends, and you kind of do we do 12 until 5, so about usually it was 5 hours. With Fatherland it's a bit more intense for us. We usually we shot for 2 weeks straight solid, where we did 9 to 7, which was long for us. We did 9 to 7, 9 to 4, 9 to 4, and then the rest was 9 to 7. It was long days, and for us anyway. But I don't know. For me, is I've had experience with people who've come and gone from my set, and felt that they had a bit of an issue with the fact that it was so leaned back and so chilled out, and everybody was having fun. But my kind of response to that was, I'm directing this, let me handle it. But I don't know, I feel like that's important, because for us, I put it this way, we're trying to run it as much like a business as we can. It is a case of we need to get the work done. The film it's a big project, it's a long movie, there's a lot to do. But I don't know, I feel like if from a direction point of view, or from any point of view, it's if everything is strict and mean and angry and get this done and shut up, I don't know, I feel like nobody would want to do it then, money or no money, it would just be depressing. Would you? Totally,
yeah, 100%. I mean, it's you got to have a certain cap on how much fuck offery you can have. I don't know.
No, we can say whatever.
You know what I mean? You gotta have you gotta be able to work the problems and get the shots and all that stuff. But as long as your workflow's good and you're doing that, you should be able to joke and have fun, I think. Especially if you're making a comedy or something that's a fun, uplifting thing. You don't want to put everybody in that mood where they're just grumpy, and then you got to start rolling the camera and we're acting, but it's coming from a real place. So if we're having fun on set, I think that really comes through on the
really portrays your character in a certain light.
I find it lets you get into focus more as well, because it's with us, even Josh, you've seen Jack's methods for getting into character and stuff. There's a scene, Jonathan, in Fatherland towards the end where we have our main character breakdown, right? And there's no dialogue, it's just really intense. He cries, he falls on the floor, it's quite dramatic. And we were all taking the piss, it was too bright, and we needed to use a light, but in order to do that we had to block off the windows, but there's no blinds on the windows. So we got a load of cardboard boxes, and we had people hold the cardboard boxes against the windows. And meanwhile, we're all pissing ourselves laughing, and Jack had been all day, but he went into the sitting room to watch a really sad video and get himself right. You know,
He has a scene that he watches, and I'm not going to share it because, you know,
we'll do that on Jack's podcast.
Yeah, we'll do that on Jack's podcast. But he has a scene that makes him very sad, and so that's why he uses to get in character for like sad scenes, which I find is really cool.
Fantastic. But I don't think Jack would have taken that initiative to. I don't think Jack would have had that dedication if I was walking around telling him to shut the fuck up and do his work and stop dossing and all of these things, you know. So I don't know. I find like by the sounds of it, Michelle had a similar approach, that it's get the job done, but obviously enjoy yourself and let's everybody be friends and love it, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And Michelle's number one concern was like, did we catch the moment that we're going for? Like, did we find the moment in this scene, and did we capture it? Can we like really move on? So only in that way would she be like, we need one more take, or, you know, we need to get this right. But it was never from I mean, actors and all artists, and especially in the collaborative art form like this, we're very sensitive. It's I think we have to be to do the work that we do. We have to be sensitive, and to have somebody like a Kubrickian kind of director coming around and barking orders at everybody and being grumpy would just, I don't know.
It's difficult.
I have to work with somebody like that.
Yeah, you know, I you know, it's, I don't know. I don't think that would be of fun, because it should be the most fun job in the world, right?
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
like the art.
We're making a movie, yeah.
You know, it's like, isn't that what everybody dreams of? So yeah, it's deadly.
It's so funny that you mentioned that scene with the breakdown, though. I just wanted to go back to that real quick, because we had a very similar scene that we shot for the new series. And it was like during the day, but it was supposed to be midnight. So of course we had to black out the. We literally had somebody holding like a big black flag over the window, just like that. And we call that Hollywooding it. So like if somebody's just holding like a big screen or something, that's a Hollywood move right there.
Brilliant. Look, it works. That's something I look at. It fucking works. Yeah. We like, I turned around to Nick's, my co-director and cinematographer, because we kind of like, you know, we'll check on each other. Like the actors are running the scene or whatever, the tech guys are setting up, and me and Nick's will look at each other and be like, oh, you know, how are we going to capture this? What kind of shots are we getting? Like, what are you thinking, Nick's? Luke, what do you think? That's grand. And we were looking at the thing, all right, it's too bright. It's like, well, because we're going to color grade everything, right? So I looked at him and was like, can you color grade this? He says, if it was outside, yeah. He said, because it's inside, the direction of the light, I don't think I can. He said, we're going to have to block it. I was like, grand. So we started looking at that, and I was like, what are we going to do? And he just looked at me and he was like, could use cardboard boxes. And Ari was moving out of the house, so there was a lot of cardboard boxes. He goes, can somebody hold them up to the window? And I was like, Jesus, oh God, I can't look. But it worked.
It turned out so cool. That shot, the shot of Jack running around the house looks so cool.
Brilliant. It's so well done. And then we get, like, you'll see, Jonathan, I'll send it to you privately, but we there's a shot then where he comes outside. We shot it at 2 p.m. In the afternoon on the sunniest day of the fucking year, and Jack walks out and it looks like it's shot at 3 a.m. in the morning. Like,
that's fantastic.
It was so cool. Nix is a god. But I reiterate that every time. Yeah, no, you yes, please do. But yes, now moving back to you. So I'll ask you. I want to ask what like, because we've mentioned already what your kind of shooting days were like and stuff. What were your what was it like working with like Bjorn and Beth and Michelle? I know apparently Beth used to take a lot of naps.
She did. She did, and I'll say this year when we were shooting again, she lived up to that reputation. Although some of us joined her, it was some tiresome times. But working with them was great. Beth actually knew Michelle before. They both work with Oregon City Children's Theater. Which is a community theater for kids, but they have adult roles too, so it's usually a mixture of kids and grown-ups kind of in a show working together. And they'll bring in professional or paraprofessional actors to work with the kids, and then these kids kind of get like an education along with the experience of being in a play. And so they already had their kind of like dynamic, I'll say, and Beth was great, and they pulled in a lot of other folks from the community theater. Bjorn, I just met at the audition, and I'm super grateful that he got cast. I guess I'll try not to be too effusive when I talk about Bjorn, otherwise it's going to get corny. But
we don't mind that here.
okay, good. I just remember the audition experience. They had us pairing up with different, they knew at the time that they were casting both Justin and Michael. And when I paired up with Bjorn, I was just like, God, I hope this is it, because this just feels so good. So working with him it came naturally.
When you were doing your audition, did you have to get paired up with more than one person, or did you want to get paired up with? Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think there were 8 or 10 of us, and I think they had every single combination except there was one really tall guy, like taller than Bjorn. So I think he didn't get paired up with like the shortest guy, because.
And just out of curiosity,
it wouldn't look good on camera.
Were you taller than Bjorn, or was Bjorn taller than you?
Bjorn's a bit taller than me, but just a little. Yeah, just a touch. They had us do scenes together. They had us each do a song, because that scene at the end with the song in the bar was always part of the script.
Yeah, that was gorgeous. That was good.
I'm glad it turned out. The original scene that we had shot for that moment, with another song which we no longer have the rights to. I just think it worked so much better. First of all, it was filmed the same year, like it wasn't 2 years later. And then we all just paired up for like test shots and stuff like that. And then somebody else that Michelle brought in from the Children's Theater was Maggie McKenzie, who in the original film you only see her at the very end during the sort of denouement. Yeah, she's on the beach. She's our daughter, and she has grown up to be quite the little actor. She is terrifically impressive, and it's just a blast to work with all of them, because some of these people are coming in not necessarily professional actors, or maybe it's been a while since their last job and they've just been kind of focusing on other things, and just watching everybody get into it and really give it everything they had was inspiring, because we were all putting our full power behind getting this little rinky-dink project that was sort of held together by toothpicks and bubble gum.
Yeah, because I want to go into that and chat a little bit about Maggie's role and everybody's role within the series and stuff, and chat a little bit about the series. But I have a couple of other things that I want to ask. So firstly, what you get this script and you find out about this audition. What drew you into this? What made you go, I have to do this? And I believe there was a point in time when you thought that maybe you wouldn't.
All I'd seen before the audition were the sides, and when Michelle sent over the offer with the script, of course, it's not always the case that you get to see the full script before you accept a role. So I immediately dove in and read it, and what drew me into it was the playfulness of it. I saw a lot of opportunity for clowning. Clown work is sort of in my background, and so I got really excited about seeing that. And then I got to about the end of the second act, where Justin gets sick, and I'm a fan of a lot of LGBTQ content. But I just can't take it, the trope of a gay hero character who ends up dying or dead at the end of the movie. I don't think that we shouldn't be telling those stories at all, but it seems like that was a really dominant feature, and it usually felt sort of unnecessary, unfair, and kind of like a way to make straight audiences more comfortable with gay content, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I got there and I set the script down and I thought, fuck, I'm not doing this. I'm not going to make another movie, like that. But I kept reading, and I'm really glad I did, because it turns out, I'll spoil it here because the movie's been on YouTube for almost a year. And for some people, I think it's what they like the most about it, is that he doesn't die in the hospital like you think he's going to. And I started kind of tearing up as I read through the sort of epilogue montages, which were all scripted in the original script. And it just, this idea of a couple of dads who find a way to have a chosen family that is loving and supportive, and then pass that love and support on to, a child that they raise. I really wanted to be part of making something like that, some content like that for the community.
Wow, that's really powerful.
Got me into it. Yeah,
that's really powerful stuff. Look, the script, even just from my own personal experience watching, because I've mentioned to you, Jonathan, when we've been chatting that I mentioned it in the last podcast as well because it was relevant, but I don't really talk about this publicly, not for any reason, just because it's not really relevant. But I myself am gay, so that's one of the reasons I watch the film, because I like watching those stories. And for anybody interested in Slaney Studios stuff, there's an LGBT themed web series coming in the coming years. But yes, that's a separate note.
That's exciting. I can't wait.
Yeah, but I had a similar experience in a way, that when I got to that point, because a lot of times when I watch these shorts or these indie features or whatever, usually it does end there, or it ends on a sad note that it doesn't work out. So it's either that they die or they don't get together, and the other guy, like Bjorn's character's story, the getting beat up as a kid, like something like that. So when I got to the end of it, I was like, shit, I was like, this film was so good. I was like, why do this? Don't do this. And when Bjorn walks back into the hospital with Beth, and you're in the hospital bed, and you're waking up, and the phone call and stuff, I was like, okay, I'm in. And then that closeout was just perfect. It was wonderful. So yeah, I understand why you kept reading. It was very, very, very good.
I'm glad to hear that. I'm really glad to hear that.
So it's not a short movie, so now that being said, it's not a very long, like, it's not that it's like 4 hours long, but it is watchable for people.
The original cut is like 2.5 hours long, I think, or maybe 40 minutes plus. It's
wow.
Yeah, and I guess there's been some demand among not demand, but requests, I guess I should say, among our fans and our supporters to find a way to see the original cut, which, like I said, there's some rights issues with it, but I think Michelle is in the process of getting like a private, like ticketed kind of, it has to be donations, I think, technically, but
right. So like hashtag release the Michelle cut, is that
yes, I think that's where we're at. Yeah, it might be kind of fun. It could be like I think she's toying with the idea of making it a watch along, where me, Beth, and Bjorn kind of like are there watching it.
Cool.
Like live stream
and then
it?
you can also stream it. Yeah, like live stream it basically. So you can watch the original cut, and then maybe even comment or ask questions, or we're not sure exactly. We're still figuring it out, but
fantastic. That would be so cool. But yeah, so like I said, it's watchable, by the way. So for people who want to watch it, I think it's like an hour and a half, 2 hours long, there and thereabouts. Yeah. It's really, really good. It's absolutely wonderful. It's fantastic. But it's not like it's a half-hour film. It's not a short. It is most definitely a feature. So that there was obviously, and if the original cut was that long, there's obviously a lot that you had to do, right? Because even for us, I know our film is coming to about 240, and there's so much in that. So I'd love to hear stories from set, like what was the hardest scene to shoot, be that from an acting point of view, and then maybe from like a technical point of view, what was your favorite scene to shoot? Stories from set, like funny things. What was it like? What did you have to go through?
Yeah, sure. Well, my favorite scenes to shoot were any time that we were working on something where we had a little bit of room to play around, both as the actors, but also Darren Hartman, our director of photography. I think he's credited as cinematographer in the actual cut that's on YouTube, but I'm used to calling him the DP because that's the call sheet. But he would just have these moments of discovery, where we'd capture everything we needed to capture, and something just with the space, or something that one of the actors did, he would just suddenly zero in on that, and he would come up with these incredibly creative angles. I mean, he would, for lack of a better phrase, he would cinema verite the shit out of it, and those were my favorite things to film, because it was just like inspiring to watch his moments of inspiration, and to see the wheels turning behind his eyes as he's realizing how he can make this moment really work. So we had some moments like that in the original, it's funny because this is also maybe one of the more technically difficult and also maybe emotionally difficult scenes to film, but the hotel scene in the original movie, where Justin builds like a fort out of sheets, and Michael comes over with some takeout, and they get down for and
just panning towards the wine. Let your imagination run wild.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. They do too. Don't they pan to the wine? I love it.
Yeah, we know what you did.
That scene got us a PG-13 rating because of the implied nature of the scene, apparently. So
not very subtle, Jonathan.
It's not really that implied.
But it was so boiling hot that day, and we were using some pretty old-fashioned borrowed and rented equipment, like those big round like balls that you find at like a department store, just like with 200-watt incandescent bulbs in them, and like the big Fresnel cans, but with like nothing. We didn't have anything that was LED except for a couple of flow lights, so it was excruciatingly hot in there, and we were struggling with a way to make it look good, like not gross. That's really want to watch a couple of sweaty people just like slapping themselves against each other.
I don't know. Josh, have you seen? Because you've seen most of the film.
I've seen most of the film.
Have you seen that scene?
I have not. I kind of want to go back and see it now.
Yeah, it's a great scene. It's very, I don't know, for me anyway, you, like I said, you and Bjorn have great chemistry on screen, and Michelle's directing is fabulous. I wish I could actually talk to her at some point. I would love to meet her. But all of it is fantastic. But I feel that scene was very, would graceful be the word? It looked really well. It was done really well. I think it looked very good.
And I got to give so much of that credit to Darren. I mean, also, of course, the people there, our gaffer and and Isaiah Brown, our sound recordist. It's a collaborative art form, of course, but Darren would come up with these solutions with the lighting and the camera movement that just would blow me away. And then I go back and watch the footage, and I'm like, are you kidding me? That's what it looks like? Because love scenes are already pretty awkward,
Yeah, that sounds very, very like Nick's Josh for us, actually. This is like
kind of hitting home a bit.
Yeah, I think we're feeling this. I think when you get a cinematographer or a DP that's that dedicated, I think it really, really stands to the project, because it really shines through in more than only, and I can see that through Nick's, and the footage that we're cutting together at the moment. So it's fantastic. Is there any kind of, because I know we mentioned that Beth used to fall asleep a lot. Was there any kind of weird things that used to happen on set like that?
Yeah. I mean, there were some pretty goofy moments. We had a couple of scenes with there were a couple of scenes that were written as crowd scenes, and
like with loads of people in them.
Yeah, like 10 plus or whatever, just small crowds, like the bar scene, and there was one scene that I think it's early in the film. We're on campus in the dorms, and Justin jumps out the window into.
Oh, that's brilliant!
Oh, it's literally the branch breaks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then he's got to go to the hospital again.
Did you actually get cut on your arm from that?
My arms were torn. My arms were torn off, Josh.
I was looking at it, and I was like, damn, he's really putting his effort in for this movie.
Yeah.
Blood, sweat, and tears.
How did you film that? Like, did you actually fall off a tree, or like?
Well, so we had a lot of safety considerations. Arm lacerations aside, we had two guys on set that day that were a big help. Both named John Armour and John Steele. And I don't know if there's a name in the world that makes you feel more comforted and safe when you have a stunt coordinator named Armour and a set safety coordinator named Steele. But Steele built us this huge platform up to the window that, when we're shooting close, I can literally lay on my back and hold onto the tree. And then he tore the platform down, and they had this like harness tied around my nether regions and under my pants, and like it would come out the belt loop. And so when they're doing the wide shots and I'm hanging in the tree window, John Armour is literally under the window, like holding me with his weight so that I can lean forward without risking falling out. And then we just cut it together. We did shoot all of that first because it was the most technically complicated.
I can imagine.
And that's the scene where I've got a friend in the down on the ground, telling me to jump, basically.
Jump,
telling me to
jump,
shut up and jump. Yeah, that's written as like 12 people shouting, chanting, jump. And
Oh, really?
needless to say, we had funding issues and our extras were not as reliable as we would have liked. And by the time we actually shot that scene, everybody had peeled off except for this guy, Dustin, a really good friend of mine, actually. And so they filmed it just as written with one guy chanting, jump, jump, jump.
I think it worked quite well. It kind of looked like whoever these people were hanging around were obviously well used to your antics.
Exactly. Yeah. And it just plays for comedy now, so it works. But that was an interesting day.
So we could go on forever about this. There's so much, so much in that film. It's absolutely fantastic. I think the most important thing that I can say at the moment is to go and watch it, right? Because it really is fantastic, and you guys clearly poured your heart and soul into it.
We really did, and I would love for people to do that. The original link that you mentioned that's been up for a few months now is still there. Due to some post-production issues that I don't think I can get into specifics, but there's a new link, so it's I think been recolorized too. Again, just on his own, Darren Hartman took it on himself to just touch up the colorization because he thought, we're going to put a new link up, I'll just make it look even better. So that's a commitment right there, but you can find that on YouTube, and I would love it if people continue to watch it and enjoy it as much as they have been.
I definitely will. No, I love it. I think I've seen it about 7 times now.
Oh my goodness!
No, I love it. So yeah, we'll kind of start to move things along, but so you're bringing it back.
Yes, back by popular demand, quite literally. And as soon as people started writing in and saying, "Where's the rest of the story? We want to see what happens next," we started funding, and it was thanks to an overwhelming number of people who were able to get on our Patreon or just go to the website morethanonly.org and find other ways to donate directly. Small amounts, I'm talking like $5 and $10 from a lot of people, added up really quickly. And then we had some super donors. One in particular, Jean-Claude Nguyen from Canada, gave us a very large chunk of our budget, and suddenly became apparent that we could make it happen this summer. So COVID considerations included, we started getting ready on pre-production pretty quickly, and it just feels like a whirlwind. I can't believe that a few months ago this was on YouTube and we've already filmed 3 short films about it.
And what was the process of getting back on set for you logistically, like just from COVID and all?
Yeah, fortunately we have a pretty robust union in Oregon, so the Oregon Media Production Association published some pretty useful guidelines for how to film during a pandemic.
Right.
And we had to keep an eye, of course, on our case counts in the state and other metrics. It was a little bit nerve-wracking, honestly. Just getting back to work at all was a little bit enough to make you a little bit nervous, because it's been so long since I've been around anybody who's not in my pod, in my safety pod. Are you guys calling it pods over there in the UK, or is that?
No, it's I don't actually know. No, for us we just kind of say like your circle, like your household.
Sure. Yeah, that's basically what it is. Definitely. I think the official CDC term in the US is your infection unit, which is kind of a downer of a phrase, honestly. So we've been calling them pods, but we all had to do like the temperature checks. We all had to do the symptom checks. A few people got tested. Some people got antibody tests. And we had one person whose job it was to make sure everybody was doing the sanitizer, washing their hands right, keeping their mask on. And every time we cut, we'd go to our sort of separate corners and try to maintain distance. But so it was a little nervous making, but honestly, it was like, okay, well, I'll get to the point quickly here, but you've made enough projects now that working on a film or whatever, a series, can be kind of like going to camp. It's you're in really close working conditions for a really quick amount of time, but it's like every day, and you kind of like make all these friends, and you start to feel really like a family, and then you wrap, and then you go home, and it's like, oh, I'm back home now. Summer camp's over.
Yeah.
And
I
totally felt like. You know what I'm talking about? That vibe.
Yeah, oh, very much. We we had that because a lot of the kind of crew from Sing to Me came back for Fatherland, and we brought more people in, and it was really quick that they click. I find that because there's so much to be done, and you're stuck together for so long, and there's a lot to shoot, and there's a lot of technical things that have to be done and in place, and there's a lot, like you said, for yourself. From acting, it's like there's downtime where you're waiting for the cameras to roll, and it's like when you're kind of in that limbo, everybody's chatting. So yeah, it's kind of bound to happen that everybody gets close. Yeah, I totally get that.
Exactly, and yeah, so if you've been able to bring the crew back, you kind of know what it feels like to get the band back together. And
we had to do back to work forms. I had to make sure that everybody hadn't been near anybody with COVID, and we're trying to like keep. Like even down to the way that we shoot, we're trying to like we use a lot of close-ups for like the closer scenes to make it look like they're like very, very close. Because we're trying to keep them, so we're doing whatever we can,
Sure.
It's sure from the series, I'm sure that it's difficult, but you got to do what you got to do. But it's
exactly.
Yeah, I can imagine that it was really nice to get back, particularly if you had like most of the same people like we did. It's cool.
Yeah, it feels great, and you just kind of you get right back into where you left off. But yeah, you can see, I think on some of the BTS, our DP is back, Darren Hartman, which when we started talking about doing this project again, I knew that was going to be one of the things that could make it or break it for me, knowing whether Darren was going to be a part of it, because he's just so instrumental in making it look as beautiful as it does. But he's got the mask, he's got the face shield. He had to start wearing contacts because between his glasses and the face shield, he couldn't see his own monitor. So, but yeah, we figured it out. We worked around it. It was a lot of fun. It was a heat wave.
Wow.
Here. So we were filming in like 100+ degree days.
What would that? Sorry,
100 plus is like 25 plus.
Oh sure,
wow.
Yeah,
okay.
Right.
Yeah, Celsius here in Ireland. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's around 20.
Yeah, 100 degrees Celsius would be a bit much, probably.
100 degrees Celsius would be dead.
Yeah.
That's like
that'd be blood boiling.
Yeah, that's like a quarter of a mile from the surface of the sun. That's not.
It's good for a cup of tea, but it's not so great for ambient air quality. No.
Yeah, just in case anyone noticed that, yes, that is a Dylan Moran quote. So what can you? Because we'll conscious of time. I won't keep you for too much longer. But what can you tell us about this series? Because obviously you can't give too much away. But what can you tell people?
So, well, we have wrapped filming and we're in post-production, so yeah, I got to be careful about exactly what I say, but the good news is so much of what we were hoping for people would want to see is the kind of stuff people were asking for, and more or less we're trying to make exactly what people were asking for. They wanted to know how is it raising this daughter for these two dads? What is it like co-parenting? Are they co-parenting with Brooke Zimmerman, who was the surrogate parent for their daughter Mandy? And it's really focused on that new family atmosphere. But we also, in doing the kind of character development discussions we did, where are these people now? We realized we still have to handle the trauma of Justin's experience having been rejected by his family of origin. And I'm fortunate enough that, I identify as queer pansexual, but I'm more or less accepted by every member of my family. There's, everybody has their folks that aren't as progressive in their family. Fortunately for me, that's not the majority of my family members. So I really couldn't speak to what that experience was like. And as an actor, you have to find that identity. So we did a lot of research, and we got into what kind of forms of PTSD occur when this kind of situation happens, and so part of it is resolving that issue with Justin and figuring out how that's going to play out. But my favorite bits about it are really just episode 1, I can tell you, starts off, it's game night. It's game night with the family.
Yay!
And it's just a lot of fun. Yeah.
No uterus, no opinion. Is it?
Yes, exactly.
I love Beth's character. So yes, people, anybody that does listen to this, whether you're listening to this on YouTube or Castbox or on the Slaney Studios website, please watch More Than Only and get ready for the More Than Only series. When can we expect any kind of teaser or trailer or preview?
So I'm pretty sure that we're going to have something like that in a few months. I know that Ryan Douglas, who was our DIT on set and also did like a lot of interviews, he would bring fan questions to us, while we had downtime. And I know there's going to be some stuff that he's putting together pretty soon, which is kind of more or less like really, BTS. But he's a professional videographer, so some pretty nice BTS. Should be seeing some of that any day now. I can't speak to the deadline, but keep your eyes out.
Brilliant.
And like I said, that watch along might be happening for people who want to see the original cut. And sorry, that little dog is already being really loud. Okay. And speaking of Beth, people are going to be so excited that Brooke Zimmerman gets to have some real character development. You're going to find out some things about her that you didn't get to learn in the original film. So very, very excited about that then.
Jonathan, is there anything you kind of want to leave people with? Anything you want to say to people before we wrap this up?
Oh God, just that I'm super grateful to have this kind of a job. I couldn't be more happy that there's an audience for this story and that people want to see more. I guess the only thing I can think of any real importance to say is that, and I want to stay in my lane here and not try to say too much, but I just want to put it out there that Black Lives Matter, and they need to arrest the cops who killed Breonna Taylor. This kind of injustice has just been going on for far too long, especially in the United States. And I stand with the protesters, and I really we're going on 3 months straight of civil unrest in Portland, and it's getting pretty ugly. But just if you're out there and you're concerned about your friends, people of color, reach out, educate yourself, and support the movement.
Wow, Jonathan, that's beautiful. That's perfect. Well done. You're very right. You're very, very right. Me and Josh have discussed in depth, privately, whether or not we would
even
bring
on the podcast. We've discussed stuff about like America. And it's not really our place to say. This is when the BLM movement was just starting to creep up this year.
We didn't know whether we should mention it or not, because I'll put it this way, the whole thing of white privilege and the thing is real, and I cannot understand what it must feel like. I can empathize, and I hate that it happens, but I can't sit there and say I get it, because I don't. I can't get it. So and
that's our job right now, is to try to learn more about that. And
exactly, and I totally agree. And so no, you're dead right. It does, and I think that's a very important thing to mention in this, particularly in something that we're talking about, a series about something like an LGBT inclusion, that kind of diversity, that kind of minority group, or that kind of discrimination that can be applied, that any kind is not okay. And right now, that is very, very important. So
it absolutely is. Yeah, and it does feel like it's a global movement. I know BLM is a very U.S. kind of centered political movement, but I mean, protesters in Hong Kong, I'm hearing from a lot of fans who were watching the film from India, and the kind of work that they're trying to do for social justice.
There's people staging things in town here in Wexford as well, Jonathan. You're right. It is. It's spread. It's really kicked off, and it's rightly so.
Absolutely.
So that's a great one, Jonathan. Thank you so much for coming on. We will have you on again, and next time we might have another person on with us as well from More Than Only.
We shall see. Oh, it's been a pleasure, Luke, Josh. It's so great to finally get to talk to you in person.
Yes. I hope. I can only hope that someday we get to physically meet each other in person, because you are an absolute pleasure to chat to.
And you can get one of those hugs.
Lots of hugs. Yeah, Josh, do you have anything you want to kind of add or drop in before?
Is there anything that we can find you on? Is there any social media? Any? Where do you want the YouTube channel? Do you want that in the description or whatever for the YouTube?
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be great. The More Than Only YouTube channel. You can. They have a More Than Only on Instagram. You can find me on Instagram at Jonathan D Miles. That's it. That's really it right now. A lot of things are production is pretty shut down on a lot of stuff. I'm sure if you dig around on Facebook, you can find a couple of live table reads of some plays that some friends of mine have written recently. But other than that, nothing to really promote. Just.
You have another feature actually, just as well. What was the name of that?
Right. Thank you, Luke. Yeah, it's Escaping Freedom, it's become available on more and more platforms. I know it's still on Amazon Prime. I recently found out it's on Deku, which is an LGBTQ streaming site. Okay. I think it's still on Vimeo Plus also to purchase. So yeah, check that out by a beautiful local director in town named Ed Blott, who recently, while we were producing that film, came out of the closet himself as bisexual, which was a very emotional moment for him to reveal that to his family, and it was just fitting because of the nature of the content of that film. But please go watch that as well.
Well, Jonathan Miles, it has been an absolute honor talking to you. I will continue to chat to you. I love chatting to you, but thank you so much for joining the podcast, for coming on, and just thank you so much. It's been a pleasure chatting with you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, and good luck with all the projects you're working on. I can't wait to see everything else that comes out of the studio.
Awesome. Right before we go, is there anything you would say to up-and-coming actors, like movie people, to give them some inspiration?
Oh gosh, I don't know if I'm in a position to give any kind of advice or inspiration, but I guess I could say generally, just don't be afraid of failure. I'm certainly no stranger to it. It's the best way to learn, and just keep in mind that at some point your specific voice is going to line up with your skill level. The more you learn and the more you fail, and that's when you're going to start, really getting noticed. So be ready for that. But just work your ass off and do things that you love, and don't be afraid to fall on your face, because that's a really good way to learn how to do better.
Yeah,
perfect. Ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up episode 4 of the podcast. We will join you again on episode 5.
See you guys in the next one.